Welcome to another episode of the Signature Sip podcast. I have our special guests here, James and Tom. Say what's up, guys.
What's up? Hello.
How you doing, guys?
So they're from Jersey Radon, and I know you might think radon is kind of a boring topic, but it's actually not as boring as you may think, and it's really, really important. Really interesting, a lot of the things that we've been talking about behind the scenes, and I think you guys are going to enjoy this one. So let's kick it off. Why don't you guys just tell us how you guys kind of got started in the radon business of all businesses?
You know, I was in the construction field my whole life. Basically, I started pushing a broom around when I was 18 years old at my uncle's company. So a lot of municipal projects, and I was always on a hands-on kind of guy. And James here, who I've known since, oh my God, since high school. I can't believe how long ago that was. I don't want to mention how many years ago, but we kept in touch ever since then, and he was into real estate business, buying homes, sprucing them up, selling them, and one day we just kind of, threw out, maybe even Facebook or something. He needed help with something. I helped him out, and we both kind of had this radon, I don't want to say issue, but we've been, more and more frequently, we've been having radon kept coming up in our projects, and we said, let's kind of take a look at what it entails. Let's do some studying, some research. We both took classes, and we said, let's kind of, try this out. It was during COVID. We both had some downtime, and then we kind of went from there.
That's awesome.
So I grew up with Tommy, and I came up with this wacky idea because at the time I was flipping homes, I was building homes, and there was a bit of a gap in like the service industries, particularly with like radon. And I'm like, I just felt like there could be some improvement. And so I reached out to Tommy and I said, look, I got a little bit of a wacky idea. Like, what are your thoughts if we started a business? And we did something in, specifically with radon. And he mentioned to me, he's like, it's funny you mention that because I've been having radon issues on my projects and some of the municipal projects that he's been working on. So we just kind of collaborated. We're kind of fumbling our way to figuring out how to work with the DP, getting all the licenses, things of that nature. And next thing you know, here we are, right? Like, we've grown the business substantially, multiple vans on the road. We have a nice staff. It's just, it's pretty amazing. And here I am sitting next to you talking about radon, which is probably something that I wouldn't have predicted that I would have been.
Yeah, so we met at Jersey,
yeah.
Right? And, radon's a very, very niche business. And, us at Signature Realty, we sell like 200 something houses per month. And we always come across radon issues, right? I didn't really realize how big of an issue radon was and how dangerous it was because nobody really tells you this, right? In real estate school, we own a real estate school. Like they don't talk about radon. Apparently it's very, very dangerous. And what really kind of boggles my mind is you have people that live in a house for a long time, right? They live in their house for 35 years. Then they go to sell it and they do a radon test and the radon comes out high. And you're like, holy crap, like you've been living here this whole time. What do you guys think about that? And like, how big of an impact do you think these radon gases have on people's health? Because I don't think people really understand that. And I have your brochure here. It's got some stats, but I want you to kind of talk about the negative effects that it causes your health.
So radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer in the United States. A lot of people don't realize that.
Second leading cause of lung cancer.
Yeah. So I think people immediately assume smoking, and that is the number one cause of lung cancer. But the second leading cause of cancer is actually with radon. We get
why don't you give people like a breakdown? Like, what is radon? Like, can you smell it? Can you see it?
Radon comes from the breakdown, the decaying of material in the soil, which obviously all homes are built, on soil, whether even if you have, obviously they're going to put a concrete slab, but it'll build up enough pressure where it starts to kind of come up through, even permeates through the concrete, through cracks, through voids in the slab. And,
so typically it's found in a basement.
Yeah. Or I'd say the misconception is, I don't have a basement, so I don't have a radon. But truth is, on slab homes are sitting right on the slab. So it's that they're actually even more,
Really?
You're spending more time on the first floor, right? And there's dirt.
That's
or
even
soil.
worse.
Correct. That's a little misconception. So yeah, just
I literally thought that too.
yeah.
Because I remember I was selling a house without a basement. I was like, oh yeah, I don't have to do a radon test when I buy it.
So you
And-
don't spend too much time in the basement. So yeah, you still want to get rid of it, right? But as you go up in the home, it kind of, the radon level is, less. But if it's a slab on grade, that's the highest level it would be.
And is this a geographic thing? Like in some geographic areas, there's more of it than others?
Yeah. So as you go like towards the water, towards the shore, it's less prevalent. But Jersey in general is just it's a high area. I can list counties, which are like Morris County's high. There's Western Monmouth. Like it's a state that has a pretty substantial level of radon throughout the whole area.
So lung cancer, and I mean, obviously that can lead to death, obviously, but any other health, I mean, that's bad enough, but anything else that we should know about it?
You talked about it before, where a lot of people don't know they've been living with radon until it's time to sell, or
Right.
they just bought a house and hey, I got radon. What can we do here?
So there's a bit of an art to it. I think when you go into a house, I think often it's just like, oh, you're just putting a pipe in the ground. That's really not the case. You're definitely evaluating the whole house, where you're going to put it, where you think you get the best suction, where you're going to be able to get the best results. Sometimes you have no choice to put in certain areas of the home, but there is.
And why does it build up? Like, why does it build up in the basement or in the home? Like, tell me a little bit about how that works.
So the technical name of a radon system is a sub-slab depressurization system. So again, the radon gas builds up pressure, so you're depressurizing it. You're not waiting for the radon to get into the basement to remove it. You're getting it before it gets to the basement underneath the slab, right? So it depressurizes it and kind of just shoots it out to to the outside where it dissipates.
So like a vent.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the example I gave you earlier, right? Best way I can kind of give an example is, let's just say, you're smoking a cigarette in your basement, all your windows and doors are closed, your entire basement's clouded, right? And then let's just say you open up the window and it opens up a little bit and some of the air is being ventilated. But once you actually put a fan near the window, then you're going to see all that smoke be extracted, right? And so that's where the radon system, in essence, what you're doing is you're depressurizing your sub slab so that all that radon is going out into the atmosphere.
Wow. So tell me, have you ever heard of anybody passing from this, or?
Well, we don't have any, personal, stories to go by, but there's been several, calls from clients where, my partner or my parent, whatever spouse has, diagnosed with, lung cancer and, never smoked a cigarette in their life.
Wow.
When the diagnosis came, they did their research and, radon popped up. They decided to do a test or got one of those monitors and realized that they've been living with elevated levels of radon.
Wow.
I don't know how long.
You guys are making me nervous. I have a gym in my house and I have my daughter's playroom, and I'm like, I go into my basement to be healthy. Right?
Right.
And I'm like, I don't even remember if we tested for radon when we first got it, because we bought it as like an as-is deal.
Well, you talk about.
I mean, it's serious.
It is,
right?
I don't want to freak anybody out. It's not like carbon monoxide or it's instant hazard to your health.
Right. It kills you slowly.
Kills you.
How bad is it? Like, is there an analogy of like if you're in your basement and it's got a certain level of radon, like that's like smoking cigarettes?
It is.
Yeah, there's a chart that kind of compares the two.
Really?
Just because they're both linked to lung cancer. This amount of radon over this, this time of exposure is equal to this many cigarettes. Wow. A lot of people don't even want to be within, 10 feet of a cigarette.
Right.
Meanwhile, their house is just, their basements or whatever, is just pumping radon without them knowing.
It's like a hot box.
One thing I want to note too, I think is important, is a lot of people call me because, most people don't live in their homes for 30 years, right?
Right.
So they'll live in their house for maybe 5-10 years and they got tested 5-10 years ago. The actual levels were low. And then they'll call me and they'll say, how is it possible that my score, I have the old test result in my little, manila folder,
right,
and it says here the score was a 1. And the buyers are coming back and saying the score is like a 10.6. Like, how is that possible? And my general feeling when it comes to radon, and I don't know if Tom, if you agree here, but generally speaking, I feel like radon gets worse in my experience with having conversations with customers and even in my own home. I generally see that it gets worse over time. It doesn't usually get better. So a lot of times, remember that when you do a test, it's a short-term test and it's a momentary like picture in that moment, right? Like in that 3-day span you're testing. So I always tell people like,
but it's also possible, you know, and I've seen it, you know, when Mike from Safeway does like the radon test, he's got like this, he puts like a sign, like do not touch, do not move. And there's instructions that are supposed to go with being able to test it. So why don't you talk a little bit about that and how the test results, if they were either, if the can was moved or if the window was opened, can we talk about that?
Before you get a radon system in, a lot of people, you know, they'll open the windows and they'll say, oh, you know, my radon level dropped significantly with an open window, but obviously you can't do that, you know, 24/7, 365 open windows. So
especially today, it's cold.
Yeah, exactly. So, and you know, opening the windows obviously is a good way, you know, before you put a radon system in. But there's many times where I go to someone who's selling their house. I explain to them, you know, we put the radon system in. I explain to them how to do the test. Where during the test, you want to keep windows and doors closed. You know, normal in and out is fine, but you don't want to be opening up windows because it can have a drastic effect on the true radon levels. So even before I leave, they'll say, oh, I'm just going to open up the windows when you leave. And I can't sit there and, you know, babysit
You're
them.
not watching it for 3 days.
Exactly.
Or whatever. How long is it?
It's about, 3
days,
to 4 days. Yeah. So
Okay.
that's why it's always good to get your own test done with your own either inspector or you have digital monitors that, you know.
Like after you buy it.
Even after you buy it.
Or
sellers
while
are
you
shady.
own it
Sellers
now.
are shady. Sellers are massively
Look,
shady. I see it all the time where they're moving.
Some of them.
95.
You guys, like we sell a lot of homes per
Yeah,
month, right?
yeah.
And, you know, most of the situations are probably normal.
Yeah. Right.
But then you guys come across those cases where they just bought it last week, they retested it,
Yeah.
and now it's like, how is this possible?
Exactly.
So obviously,
Because they don't want to put the money or give the credit, right? And so I see that happening where they're like, oh well, we tested, it was 5.5, it's not passing, and then they'll test it again themselves and they'll say, oh, I see a score of a 1, and it's like you have to kind of question that, because I've seen we take pictures, at least I do. I take pictures of all the testing, and you can see that it was moved from one side of the room to the other, and so you have to be careful. And even and I always tell people, like, yes, like just test your home even after you purchase it, even if the level came out low, because I think it's a nice safety precaution, especially like you said, if you have kids, right, or if you're on a treadmill running and you're thinking that you're losing some weight, but you're also
I'm
getting
like smoking
cancer.
cigarettes.
Yeah.
Counterbalancing.
I've never smoked a cigarette in my life on purpose. Now I'm like, do I have radon in my house? But so how often should we test it? Like every 6 months, every year? Like, what do you think?
Well, the DEP, even with a system installed, suggests you should test every 2 to 3 years. A lot of stuff can change, you know, subgrade.
And what if I'm just paranoid and I want to get a system because I'd be preventative, right?
Well, it can't hurt, right? It's not going to add radon. Can only, even if you're at a, you know, score of 1 or 2, which is technically under the action level of 4, you know, just get it as close to 0 as possible. You know?
And is it priced like based on the size of the house and the square footage, or is it a bigger system in a bigger house?
Yes, there's different size pipe, different size fan. A lot of the older homes, if there's a crawl space, especially if there's exposed soil in the crawl spaces, that's a little bit more involved. But generally, same kind of price point. It's nothing that's going to break the bank,
right?
Especially for what it does in the end. You know,
You're spending like $500,000 on your house. I mean, like, I think it's like if you ask me, it's a relatively small investment.
So can we give a range?
I always tell
like
people,
for a single family, like let's say 2,000 square foot house with like I don't know, like 1,000 square foot basement.
I tell people all the time, like, budget around $2,000
It's
plus or minus 10%.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. So it's like, so, you know, just mentally come in it for like 2,000 and that's
ballpark. With the permit cost or no?
That's all inclusive.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's great.
It includes a, post mitigation test to see what your new radon levels are.
Right.
And yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's something that people don't talk
No
about
brainer.
as much. Right. Like we need to put a class. Actually, I'm going to have you guys come into the Signature Realty Academy class.
Oh, look at that.
Because look at all these real estate agents and, people that are getting licensed. They have no idea, right? They're their clients when they buy a house, you're 100% right. Like, you don't want to take the risk. Like, I have a 5-year-old. Like, I do care about myself, right? But we all have kids here, right? Like, we care more about our kids,
Of course.
than ourselves. And we want to make sure that they're safe. I mean, it's worth it definitely to get tested. And then second, maybe to just throw in a system.
Yeah, and it's also, believe it or not, like there's people who don't have kids, but they have dogs, they have cats, and it actually impacts animals too. So so it's not something we normally think about, but it's something to be also aware of. So yeah, so it's definitely a worthwhile expense.
So how many people, like, I'm just curious, because now you guys got me like thinking about this. How many people do you think are living in New Jersey right now with elevated levels of radon in their home?
A lot, man.
Like, how many?
I think I saw something somewhere where it was like maybe 25 to 30%.
25 to 30% of people
I never saw that
When we
statistic.
say elevated, I like to say anything really
above 4.0.
Well, 4 is the action level, right? Where they recommend, hey, you should do something. And then if it's between 2 and 4, if you're spending a lot of time in your basement, working out, playrooms, work from home.
So it's still bad.
You want to try to get it down as close to zero as you can, especially if you're spending time down there.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's
even in
just
my own house too.
It's like smoking one cigarette instead of a pack.
Yeah, but why smoke that one cigarette when all you can do is, get a radon system in and peace of mind. Wow. And there's no maintenance, just runs 24/7. You'll never hear it. You'll never see it. Just let it do its thing.
We should start, because we flip houses, right? Like, he said that you were in the business too. We should just start putting in radon systems.
We do. Well, I did.
Well, I'm sure you do.
Right around late 90s, early 2000s, they started requiring at least the piping to be installed within the home of, any new construction home.
Yeah, it's called the passive system.
It's called a passive system where in case the levels are high, all you got to do is install the fan in that pipe. That way you don't see anything on the outside. It's up in the attic.
Oh, that's good though.
Yeah.
Well, that's how I discovered it, right? Because I was doing a new construction project. We're putting in a passive system, and then the service wasn't that great, right? And that's kind of like where that's why we're here today. But no, 100%. I think radon's a big problem.
It just should be part of every. You need smoke alarms. You need a fire extinguisher. You need a radon system.
I got to add that to my repair sheet now.
Yeah, that's it.
On every flip.
I found you've done a lot of flips. I've always found, at least for me, the biggest issues I always see in the basements is always waterproofing issues. There's always like water table issues. And but the other thing that people don't really take mind to is like actually radon. Like those are two things I always tell people like you should look at.
It's the thing that people probably like if you think about like oil tanks, right? It's like you do an oil tank sweep, right? If you got an oil tank, it's like, oh my God, it could kill the deal, all this stuff. But oil tanks don't cause cancer, right? Yeah. Like this is a much bigger deal than almost everything that you can find in a house. And it's an easy fix. How long does it take?
3 to 4 hours max.
Yeah.
I mean, so you put in the permit, you can get it pretty quickly, I would imagine.
Yep.
Because the town doesn't want to hold that permit up.
Yeah, and we don't need to get permits in order to do the work because it's considered a safety issue. So we can actually do the work before the permit's fully approved.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it doesn't delay our work.
So if I call you and I go, hey, I got elevated radon, I send you the report. How does this process work? Do you need pictures? Do you need the radon test report? Do you need to come out to the house? Do you need a video from me? Like, how does it work? So
I think what makes us different is a lot of times we actually come out to the house. We don't like to have any surprises for the homeowner, buyer, whomever's putting up the money to purchase the system. So one of the things we do is it goes directly into our salesperson. Our salesperson happens to be Tommy's brother. His name is Yanni. He takes the call, he fields the call, and based on the scope of work, based on what's been discussed, he'll come out. So if it turns out that it's more of a complicated home, he has a crawl space, it's a bigger basement than normal, things of that nature, he'll actually come out. A lot of times homeowners don't know or are able to even describe what a sump pump is and things like that. So Yanni will actually come out and take a look at the property and give a written quote right then and there.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's perfect. So if you have elevated levels of radon, you could just call Jersey Radon, get a guy out there, and they'll give you an exact number right on
888 NJ Radon.
We'll put it on the screen.
There you go.
Call 888-657-2366. Tommy and Jim. And Yanni.
And Yanni,
Yeah.
he's
Shout out Yanni.
He's a core part of our team.
That's awesome. So what other, do you guys have a nightmare story? I always like to ask our podcast guests, do you have a nightmare story of?
Maybe when you rip your pants.
My first job.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
tell us that story.
All right. Obviously, like I said, I came from construction. I have, I'm good with my hands.
I shouldn't have said that on the podcast.
And tools and stuff like that. So hey, we started this radon business, got sent to my first job. Kind of got started there, whatever. And it took a little, couple.
So you do the installation?
I myself do the installations. Now we have a crew also who the guys they're great. But when we started, I was the one going out there and doing it. And like you said, I still go to this day. So my first job where, again, I had an idea, but I wasn't, an expert yet. So, a couple of trips to Home Depot, back and forth, trying to get the right sizes, whatever. It took a good chunk of the day to get it done. I ended up a rip in my pants all the way from this area here all the way down to my ankles, basically like I was bell bottoms.
How the hell did you do that?
I honestly, I bent down at one point and I don't know, my whole leg was exposed and I had to kind of do that. It took a while.
That was your first job?
That was my first job, and I was like, wow, what did we get into here?
It's like, James, what'd you get me into?
But we got the radon level down, and
till this day, we talk about that first install, and we say, oh, if they only knew that was our first install. But just so we're clear, we've done thousands of installs since then, thousands. But yeah, it's a journey of being an entrepreneur, I guess. Yeah.
Hey, everybody starts somewhere, right?
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So what advice, obviously a lot of our audience are realtors, right?
Yeah.
They're real estate agents, real estate investors, basically everybody real estate. That's our ecosystem, right? We have our real estate school and our investors in Investors Rock Academy. So what advice do you have for agents? Because nowadays, right, it's a competitive market, seller's market. And a lot of times they're just like, hey, buy this house, you're waiving all inspections, you're doing this. What advice do you have, for the buyer?
Well, I just want to touch
on
the
something. Agents.
Yeah. And I just want to touch on one important thing. It's, I was in your shoes, right? We're fixing, flipping homes. And I know these real estate agents, they're like an octopus, right? They're just trying to pull all the things together, legal, title, et cetera, inspections. And so one of the things that we are, and I think that's really important that distinguishes us from maybe other companies, is that I almost look at us as a partner to the agent, because we don't want to, you already have a red flag, right? That might potentially kill the deal, right? And we obviously don't want the deal to die.
Right.
And so,
because somebody can get concerned if they Google radon and you get elevated levels of radon, and I'm a first time home buyer. I Google radon and it says it's like
I've done
lung cancer
therapy calls. I've done multiple therapy calls, predominantly moms with kids. And I'm on the phone 45 minutes, an hour sometimes, and I'm literally explaining to them that it is extremely prevalent. It's in my own house. I have it in my own house. They don't, and once you kind of walk them through and make them realize that it's you want to live in New Jersey, there's a high probability that you're going to have radon. That really just de-stresses them. When you Google radon, words like cancer, death, 15,000 deaths per year. I mean, when you hear these numbers, it would spook any parent.
Scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's what I like about it is it's not an easy fix, but it's a quick one.
Yes.
Right. Obviously, like you said, it's kind of like an art that you have to know what you're doing. And I love the fact that you guys do send out a salesperson, to make sure that we're doing what we have to do.
Yeah.
That's really important, especially if a lot of houses have crawl spaces. Some houses have crawl spaces that are like sealed up, right? And all those things are probably going to matter.
One of the things, and this is not a sales pitch, it's actually a real thing for us. It's we can definitely work towards getting your score under that actionable number of 4, right? That's great. But let's just say I got it down to a 3.5, right? Let's say your score was a 6, we got it down to a 3.5. A lot of homeowners or buyers are not happy with that number, right? Because they feel like, it's still kind of close to a 4.
Right.
One of the things that Tommy, and this is why, Tommy's so good at what he does, is that our scores are substantially below that actionable 4 number, and we take pride in that. And when I look at the statistics of all of our installs, it's significantly typically under 2, and more than often than not, it's under 1. And sometimes I would say maybe half our installs the number is so low that it becomes undetectable, right? So when they bring it to the lab, they don't even detect anything in their canister and the test result. So this is one of the reasons why we obviously take a lot of pride in what we do. But I was kind of mentioning to you earlier, it's a bit of an art. There's definitely got to be experience that Tommy brings that I think is really important also for your agents, because we don't want to just give you a result that's like, okay, we got you under 4. We want to get a score that they're extremely happy about. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to smoke even half a pack of cigarettes a day. Right. No, this is really important. So a couple takeaways for me, right? I'm the broker of record at Signature Realty. So, I always want to give the best information to our agents. Like, number one, any buyer that purchases a home, regardless if they got the canister done, it could have been tampered with, right? A window could have been opened. Even if the house is vacant, like, something could have happened, right? Maybe there's already something open and you're not aware of that. And then the buyer purchases the home and they fix that, and now there isn't that release. So always have your buyers test after the fact. That is a great point of communication to make sure that they're safe as a real estate professional, to call them and say, hey, how are you doing? You moved into your house. Have you gotten your radon tested again? And I don't know if you answered the question, how often are we doing this?
Testing?
Yeah.
They recommend every 2 to 3 years. A lot of people are getting those monitors that kind of link up to the phone. They test radon, they test carbon, monoxide, overall air quality.
But do they work well? Like, does it have to stay down there? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, it just kind of
stays down there, and then you have access to it on your app?
Yeah, it kind of links up. Exactly.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep.
It's technically not the gold standard in terms of testing, because there's no calibration associated with those electronic monitors, but it's a good indicator if it's, if suddenly, because if it's suddenly like trending high, then it might be worthwhile that maybe your system's off, or maybe there's an issue with an existing system, or maybe you do have radon. So it's definitely good to have. I have it in my own house, but it's not, I don't look at that number and go, okay, my house is a 3 or a 2 or whatever it is. Like, I would actually do a true canister test. It's a charcoal test.
So those are the best ones.
Those are the best ones. That's the gold standard.
Those are certified by the state. They get calibrated and everything. We buy it from a state certified lab.
Excellent.
Yeah. Because if a customer calls us and says, hey, my electronic monitor is saying it's a 5, I'll insist that they actually do a
canister.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
So that's a big takeaway, like buyers purchasing those properties. Another takeaway, if you're an investor like myself, maybe it's a good idea if you have, a property, to just include that in your repair sheet, right? Just add it on, right? Obviously you can get it tested for radon, but again, you're risking, if it does get tampered with, this is not a risk I'm willing to take. Like, if I'm going to live in a house and I know that this can cause, this is the second leading cause for lung cancer.
Yeah.
Why isn't this talked about more? This is crazy.
We're talking about it now.
No, I know, but do you get what I'm saying? Like, we're immersed in the real estate business, like legit. Like, this should be talked about a lot more. Yeah. Like, we talk about oil tanks all the time.
Yeah.
I know I keep bringing up that analogy, but I'm like, this is 10 times more serious than a freaking oil tank.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is it is being talked about more. Again, maybe not enough, but more than, say, even 5 years ago. People are becoming more and more aware of radon, especially since when COVID hit. Hey, work from home. My office is in my basement, right? And
then, that was a good point.
That kind of thing. Like, let me check my radon.
Wow.
And people,
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Everybody started finishing their basements too. So should you do the radon? Like, if you're going to finish the basement, does that change things or no?
It might.
You should probably get it done before you finish it.
Well, you definitely get it tested before, right? Because finishing your basement, you kind of add more insulation. Everything's more sealed up, less of a chance of the radon to kind of get, whether it's through
getting in, you have
tile, right, or getting out, because it's more ventilated when it's unfinished, right? Yeah. But once you seal everything up, then you test. Oh, now I have radon, because the radon's got no place to be vented out.
Got it.
But again, it's relatively simple fix. I'm not going to put it in the middle of your finished basement, because there's also that involved.
There's typically always an area that people have for
utility room,
right?
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. So, those are a couple big takeaways. And look, if you, I don't know what the symptoms are, but if you're not feeling well and you don't know what's going on, I know that in our house, we started testing for mold and stuff, and nothing was kind of coming back. And then it ended up being a totally different issue. But like if you're feeling a certain way, I mean, it could be that you have elevated levels of radon in your house.
Well, there's no real way to say, hey, I'm feeling this way because of radon, which actually kind of makes it a little scarier, right? Because you can't see it, you can't smell it.
Right.
You know, you can't smell it. I said that. So you don't know the effect that it's having on you. It's a long-term thing, you know, when you're 10, 20, 30 years from now, you know, God forbid you get
it's just like smoking cigarettes. I mean, people smoke cigarettes for 25 years and then some of them get sick and some of them don't. Right?
That's exactly right.
We've had, it's sad. I mean, there have been times where we had customers, they would reach out and, you know, they'd say, oh, like my uncle passed away. I was telling you the story earlier. My uncle passed away. He used to work in the basement all the time. And, you know, I randomly came across this when I was kind of Googling about lung cancer, about radon. And we decided to give you guys a call. We came by, we did a test, and the score was through the roof. And that's kind of like, those are the moments because it's super preventable, right? I mean, putting in a $2,000 system. And so those are the moments where you just kind of walk out of that house and you're just like, oh, that's like, it's like kind of like gut wrenching when you
of course,
see those situations.
Yeah. So get your radon tested.
Yeah, it's very simple.
Get a damn machine in your house for a couple grand.
NJ Radon.
Over almost 500 5-star reviews.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah. And we have, we take pride in, obviously our Google reviews. But you know, we service our customers in a way where we come back, right? Like, I think, you know, this industry is kind of a wonky industry, but we come back, we offer great warranty on our product. If there's ever an issue, you can reach me directly. I would say at least half the jobs, because we have multiple vans on the road, you'll actually see Tommy there.
Right.
So, you know, and I consider
Yanni.
Or Yanni.
Yanni.
Yeah. It's like kind of like a family business almost. He has 2 other brothers that's involved in the business at different times. And Yanni's our full-time salesperson.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. No, guys, thanks so much for being on. I think this is a super important topic. It's not ever highlighted that I've seen anyway, right? And I think we have to get the word out even more. And if you're watching this, we'll put the links in the description to their website. Maybe you can give me the best place to purchase these canisters if they're doing it through you guys.
I'll send you a couple.
Yeah, we'll put some resources in the description for you guys. And again, realtors, this is a great thing. If you know, we're always thinking about ways to reach out to clients that we've sold houses to, right? To just keep in touch with them for referrals and, you know, see if they need anything. This is a great topic to talk about.
Yeah.
Hey, have you tested your radon in the last year?
Yeah.
I know you bought your house last year, but you should test it every year. And maybe I don't know how much are the canisters?
We typically charge like $75 if you needed we'll mail you, we'll overnight a test kit to you for $75.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great Christmas gift. I know that sounds weird.
Like a stocking stuffer.
Stocking stuffer. Test your radon.
More
Don't
valuable
die
than
of
anything else.
cancer.
Thanks, Dad.
I'm going to give it to my 5-year-old. It's going to be in hers. No, but seriously, this is a good thing to, you know, potentially give as a gift to your clients, or, you know, definitely giving them the information for it. So thanks a lot for coming on, guys. This is great.
Thank you.